Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we have the Jaeger with a heart of nuclear fire. Today we're looking at the NECA Pacific Rim Wave 1 Gipsy Danger action figure. Gipsy Danger is the hero Jaeger of Pacific Rim. The story basically revolves all around this one. It's the first Jaeger we get a good look at in the movie with an extended fight sequence in Alaska. It's downed for most of the movie and then makes its triumphant return, of course, right at the right moment later on in the film. But, of course, seeing that this was the one on all the posters and everything, I knew this was one that was going to be very important to the film. So let's take a closer look at it. Got the head sculpt, which is pretty solid, has the yellow visor in there. A lot of cool paint lines. This would have been a light up here, the white dot at the top. A lot of lights on these Jaegers, which doesn't really translate well into figure form. But some good detailing, some great sculpting on there. Now zooming in on this with the camera, the paint looks a little uneven. And even looking at it with the naked eye, once you know where that uneven paint is, it's pretty easy to see. But in person, it really doesn't look as bad as it does through the lens. It looks a lot more organic, I guess, and here on the figure in close-up it just looks very splotchy, but just let it be known that it does not look this streaky when you're just looking at it with the naked eye and not super critiquing the level of detail on it. One thing I'm a little bummed about is with the Crimson Typhoon, we got all the kind of neck mechanics going on in here, and that's actually highlighted in the movie with Gipsy Danger, and we don't get that in the figure. Obviously, it would have been kind of a waste because you can't really see in there that well, but it would have been kind of cool. Here on the chest, we have all these panels, little gaps in here, which I guess were air vents. NECA did a great job painting the nuclear reactor in the center. A lot of great colors in there. That's really spectacular looking. All the little mechanical facets on here, just really neat. Kind of articulated look to the stomach, even though it's not articulated. Is of course the red and white stripes all over him. 34 on the shoulder. Gipsy Danger kind of reminds me of that Fox Sports football robot thing. I don't know if anybody remembers that. My Toys R Us, where I used to live, had one sitting on the shelves for freaking ever. So I looked at it a lot just because it was very strange. And it reminds me of that quite a bit. So cool mechanics on the arm. We got the piston joints back here. On the back, we have, of course, the big neck guard protecting the head of Gipsy Danger, the flaps for the arms. These are soft rubber, but they can't actually move, not articulated. The vents back here, the cool-looking spine, which I realized only after the movie was over, looking at the figure, that they had these on the interface suits with the pilots. And I wonder if this is actually the core of the neural control system, because now looking and seeing that Gipsy Danger has one, that kind of makes a little sense. But a lot of good layers of armor back here, looking pretty cool. Big stripe on the arm. Fist is well detailed. They are both fists, but it's not a bad thing. You want your Gipsy Danger punching out people. But a lot of good looking joints in there. Once again, it looks like it could be articulated. And it's not, but it looks like it could be, and that's important. Because at least it has that level of detail that I would want out of my action figures. On the legs, the joints look a little more noticeable. They couldn't really disguise them as electronic components as much. They do their best, but it's not great. There's these big, high sections on the leg, which are soft rubber as well. Great paneling detail, some good paint detail. The paint isn't as great as it was on Crimson Typhoon. Typhoon really looked like it was scuffed up and dirty. This does look a little more just like color differences, but still cool. The metal look is still great on it. And the feet looking pretty sweet as well. Forgot to point out on the back of the arm here, we kind of have the vent that he used for the rocket punch, so that's kind of cool. For articulation, the head is on a ball joint. A little hard to get to back in here, but you can get your fingers around it and move it around as you wish. Ball joint at the upper arm, forward, back, kind of in and out like that as well because of the ball joint. Bend at the elbow, not a great range of motion, a little disappointing. Ball joint at the wrist, ball joint at the mid-torso. Let's go forward. Back is fairly hindered because of this piece here, and out to the side is fairly hindered as well. Bend at the knee, a good bend at the knee. Ball joint at the feet, it's actually the barbell-shaped joint, so there's a ball on each end of this. Get a pretty good range of motion. You can also get pivot out of the ankle side to side, which is great. And it has this little weird heel hinge piece, which I don't understand. It's not like an articulated toe where you can actually get up on the toe. This is just the back of the heel goes up, and that just doesn't make sense to me in an anatomy sense. Overall, once again, I think NECA did a stupendous job with Gipsy Danger. Just a ton of great detail in this figure. And once again, the articulation isn't great, and I do have a little bit of a problem with the paint. As much as I try to convince myself that it doesn't bug me, looking at it through the camera just highlights all these problems I never saw. But, like I said, when you're not looking at it on camera, it looks a lot better, at least it does in my eye. I'm going to recommend Gipsy Danger. I still think Crimson Typhoon was the best out of this set. That had the best articulation, the great paint apps on it, and still great detail. Gipsy, I wish kind of got a little better shake just because it is the hero Jaeger in the movie, but still really badass. Now, NECA has announced Wave 2, and I'm a little disappointed. We saw back at Toy Fair that we're getting Striker Eureka, which is awesome. Probably the second most important Jaeger to put in the movie. Probably the second most important Jaeger of the bunch, so that makes a whole lot of sense. Very similar in design to Gipsy Danger, so I can understand why they wouldn't put him Wave 1. We're getting Leatherback as a kaiju, and the rumor I've heard is that we are getting another Gipsy Danger, this time with the chainsword and battle damage. Now, this can go one of a lot of different ways. We could get the full-on battle damage, missing an arm Gipsy Danger, which in that case, my question is, which arm are we going to be missing? Because in the beginning of the movie, it loses its left. The end of the movie, it loses its right. But how far is NECA going to take it? If it's just a repaint of this and then an extra accessory, that's kind of a bummer. I want the chainsword, especially after seeing the movie. I definitely want the chainsword. Once again, if we ever get an Otachi kaiju, it would be great because that's really the big battle between those two is with the chainsword. It looked really awesome on screen. But I feel like they're missing out on a big opportunity here. When the movie was first announced, there was an extra Jaeger in the mix. There was Coyote Tango from Japan, and for whatever reason, that got cut from the movie. So that left us with just 4 Jaegers. And if NECA would have just stuck Wave 2 and crammed in Cherno Alpha, we could have had the full set of Jaegers. That would have been awesome. Go back and do Gipsy Danger in Wave 3 and pair him with 2 other kaiju. I would have been down for that. But it's just kind of a bummer that we're going to repeat this character already. I really hope NECA goes further with Pacific Rim. This is a line I really want to do well. I hope the movie does well. As of my recording of this, the movie is just open, so there's really no way to know how well the movie's actually going to do. But I hope the movie does well. I hope the figures do well. They seem to have been sold out pretty much everywhere I've looked, which is encouraging. I want the line to continue. I want them to move forward. I want to get the rest of the Jaegers for sure. But 3 recommends, even though not all the strongest recommends. But it's a series that I've definitely enjoyed. Make sure you check out Outside the Box Reviews on Facebook. There'll be a link below. And until next time, this has been another Outside the Box Review. Stay tuned for more to come.